What? Cameras? I'm on my holidays. Give us a break. Roll credits. Well, hi YouTube, Brian James. I'm Micro Four Thirds guy with you once again, and really good to see you in a very hot and sunny Cyprus. I'm really sorry for all of you stuck back in the UK or somewhere cold. It's only a chilly 26 degrees here and gorgeous sunshine. But I'm here, I'm in Cyprus, I'm on my holidays at last after 2.5 years, and I am indebted to everybody who responded to the last video. I really am. It was a fantastic response, but I was trying to just sort of work out which camera to take. And the response has been fantastic. Now, I'm not going to tell you which camera I took yet. You'll have to wait a little bit further through the video on that one. But I just want to go through some of the responses and sort of split them up if I can. Well, first of all, there was some of the people who were giving me some fantastic ideas, but for cameras which I don't own. And for those of you who don't know, I don't get sponsored for this for these videos. The equipment I talk about is either something I can borrow from friends to review and have a look at, or items which I actually own myself. So my choice of cameras, although there were some really good suggestions and some which are possibly worth looking into to buy at a later date, the choices I was given, the suggestions I was given, were limited to the ones that I gave in the example. So all the people who said LX100, fantastic, I like the idea of the LX100, sounds good. The ones who were saying about GX80, GX85, who were talking about the GX7, all great cameras. But it came down to a few. So I was surprised that the one that was at the bottom of the list, according to the number of responses from you, was actually my EM1 Mark I. Now that's been my stable holiday camera for many years, and I just love the camera. It's really good to carry around the place. It's really useful. It's got great results. 16 megapixel sensor, but as I've said in the past, I'm not a great pixel peeping sort of freak. So the 16 megapixels has produced me some fantastic results in the past. So what came second in that? So the one which was last was the EM1 Mark I. The second one, with quite a few people actually suggesting this one, was the GX1. And I was surprised how many people were very positive about the GX1, especially with a little 12 to 32 pancake zoom on the front of it as well. It is a great camera. A few people suggested using that with the LV2 electronic viewfinder. The problem with that is I don't have one. I've looked into getting an LV2 viewfinder, but the price of them, even to get second hand, is more than the price of a new GX1 camera. And I can get newer GX cameras for less than buying the LV2. So the LV2 really is out the window for me on that. So it would be the GX1 purely using its rear screen. And as a few people have said, it's not particularly stable when you put a bigger lens onto it, and it is well outdated, but a great pocket camera. And I did think about sticking that in my pocket just as a second one, but no, my mandate was to actually keep it fairly small and light, because I came with loads of gear in the past, and I was trying to pull it down a little bit. Now, before I go to the rest of the cameras, it was also interesting to see what people had picked up, because I did say which lenses I was going to be bringing, which was the Panasonic 14 to 140. I was going to be bringing the 7 to 14 Panasonic Lumix lens, and I was also going to be bringing my Olympus 17mm f1.8. Now, I'd already decided on them, so thanks to all the suggestions about other lenses to bring, but that was part of my specs. So I already had the lenses sorted out. However, there was a lot of people suggested taking the 25mm f1.7 that I own, and it wasn't the lens I was going to bring. It's not a lens I use a lot, because as I've said in a previous video, I think there's a link above somewhere, you'll find that I'm not a great fan of the 25mm. I prefer something slightly wider. The 25mm, of course, given a full frame 50mm. And why I chose the 17mm, it's more of a sort of 34mm. It's on the slightly wider side, and that's probably the lens that I would choose to use normally. But I decided I was going to bring that 25mm along as well, because as a few people said, it's small, it's light, it's easy just to throw in the bag and forget about. So I have brought that one as well, because it could be a useful low light lens. A lot of people said not to bring the 7-14 because they don't find it a useful lens. I do an awful lot of photography in buildings and things, especially of churches and things like that. And as I said in the past, I do like to use those, the artistic thing of using parallel distortions where you actually try and get converging parallels. And the 7mm, especially the 7 to 8mm lens, end of that lens is fantastic for that. And although I don't use it a huge amount, it was one that I wanted to bring. It gives me everything between 7 and 140mm on Micro Four Thirds, which is 14 to 280 on full frame. So it's a really usable range in those two lenses. So the lenses I brought, 7-14, fine. The 14 to 140, again, fine. The 17mm f1.8 Olympus and the 25mm f1.7 Lumix. So we then get to the top 3 cameras. Now the choices that I put down were the GX8, because that's been the lens I've been using as my travelling around lens in the UK. It's been a lens which I've used an awful lot recently and I've enjoyed. My Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II, which I bought around about the same time as the GX8, but haven't really used it that much because of the sort of photography I've been doing for the last year. The EM1 Mark II has been there, but it hasn't been my optimum used camera. And also my G9. So in third place from your votes, I'm still not telling you which one I brought though, third place from your votes goes to the G9. Now the G9 I'd consider to be the heaviest of the cameras and the bulkiest of the cameras, but it is a fantastic stills camera and fantastic for video too. Now, although I didn't emphasize it in the last video, the video side of things is going to be something I'm going to be using. I'm going to be doing some videos, trying to get some B-roll footage on the video. And although I'm doing this particular talking head into my iPad, because I do find the iPad nice and easy for these talking heads, I will probably be using the camera that I bring to do some video. Now, all 3 of the cameras that were said, the GX8, the G9 and the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II, are good at video. The G9 being the best of the lot, obviously. The drawback with the GX8 being the sound. I have a small adapter to take it down to the 2.5mm jack. And the Olympus just seems to fit nicely. It's not a super video camera, but it's not bad either. So again, that would be a drawback with the EM1 Mark I, because the video on that is pretty poor and it doesn't have a fully articulating rear screen. So you can't do the old sort of looking at yourself selfie type shots and checking it over easily on that one. So as a video camera, the EM1 Mark I was a poor one. And I'm going to tell you straight away that I have discounted the EM1 Mark I and the GX1. So it's between the 3. So if you are enjoying these videos, by the way, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below as usual and give me a big thumbs up if you would, because it really does help the channel by spreading the algorithm so that more and more people see it. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a donation on the PayPal for a cup of coffee. I would really appreciate it. But we're going to be coming to the choices that you gave. And these have been really, really interesting. And so to the GX8 in number 2 slot. Well, the GX8 is fantastic. A lot of you are comparing it to the GX7, the GX80 and GX85 to bring along. But remember, the GX8 is a physically bigger and heavier camera than them, and it brings it into a similar sort of realm as the EM1 Mark II and the G9. So you don't get a big advantage on that. The difference is a very, very different form factor. There are disadvantages, as I've said, about the 2.5mm jack and a poorer stabilization when it comes to the Mark I lens, because I've got a Mark I 14 to 140, and also the much earlier Mega OIS 7 to 14. But to be perfectly honest, I can get around that in most situations. The trouble with the GX8 is I've used it a lot recently. I've used it for an awful lot of the carry-arounds, so I wanted something different on this one perhaps. So was it the GX8 I brought? See in a few minutes. Finally, you put by a large margin, at least double the amount of votes for the EM1 Mark II over any of the other cameras. And that's really interesting. The EM1 Mark II is a fantastic camera. It has a different feel to it than the EM1 Mark I, a much bigger grip and a better form factor in the hand. But I had a few comments about whether the controls, but why are you taking the camera? You're going to have to learn new controls if you haven't used the EM1 Mark II very much. But the fact is that I have actually got it set up. I've got some custom controls on there, and the setup identical to the M1 Mark I, which I've carried around for years. So the actual use has been not a problem. What it does give me is a 20 megapixel sensor. It does give me much better IBIS, and even using these lenses, the IBIS works extremely well up to about 5 stops. So I'm not really worried about the IBIS on that one. It has the fully functioning tilt swivel screen, so you can actually see out the back properly, and that's easy for doing the video work. The video is far better than the EM1 Mark I, and it's not far short of the G9. I'd put it between the G9 and the GX8 to tell you the truth. I think it's better than the GX8. And it's a really good camera, useful form factor, useful camera to take. It is a little bit on the bulky side in comparison to others, and you only realise that when you lift the G9 and the 1 Mark II together. They're very, very similar in size and bulk, even though they don't seem it. So that was the choice of cameras. So you put it by a long margin, the EM1 Mark II. So which one did I choose? Well, I'm going to let you into it. I chose the EM1 Mark II, partly because of your suggestions, but also partly for the fact that I wanted to have a little bit more use out of this camera and thoroughly enjoy it. So I brought it out with me, with the lenses that I said before, and here it is. You can see it in a sunny Cyprus, EM1 Mark II. I think that the camera's superb. It's got the 14-to-140 on at the moment. I've had it out this afternoon. And I'll tell you one thing as well. I'm not going to be doing any of the professional photography bit. You know, don't expect stylish, artistic shots from me. I'm here as a tourist, and I'm here on holiday, and I'm going to be taking holiday snaps, and I'm going to be enjoying it. Because a lot of you said, why don't you just go on holiday? Oh, by the way, that's a big thing. There was a big vote on the, instead of taking the camera at all, just go and take some holiday fun photographs and leave the camera at home. Well, I wanted to bring the camera, but the good thing is I'm going to be taking some holiday snaps. I'll bring some of those as we talk for the next couple of days. But EM1 Mark II is the camera that I choose, so thanks for everybody for all the votes that you've given me. But the main thing is now, it is 26 degrees, I'm on holiday, hat on, sunglasses on, off for a pina colada, and I'll see you soon. Till the next time, keep taking your camera out, keep enjoying yourself, and keep enjoying your photography. Bye bye. Hold that pina colada.